It's a pleasure having you still watching Family Hour here on Church of Uganda Family TV, where we empower you one episode at a time. And this particular episode is enriching your leadership traits. Now, we carry on leadership and accountability way back from childhood, from family as the smallest unit, like in the previous part of this show. It was put that a family, it all starts with a family. Now, I remember when we were in school, so our parents were always accusing the children, the school administrators of theft. You're mentally thieves. There are a lot of thieves in this school. And then at one time, a teacher said, "No, we don't mentor thieves. These thieves are in your homes." Why? Because a child carries a t-shirt you didn't buy for them. They bring it home, they put it on, and you'll never ask where they got it from. Now, the following day, they'll bring a mattress, they'll bring shoes, and before you know, they'll start bringing people's property. And because you didn't question at the beginning, you can't question anymore. And from this discussion, I realize that is now very, very important, that if we fail to follow up at the grassroots, it is the reason Dr. Patricia and the team are really battling with with very many officials now. Well, we are looking at the power of accountability and leading by example. And with us is Angwech and Dr. Patricia Okiria. So we now get to now exemplarity in leadership. Because we've now dwelt much onto accountability, and we realize all of us at one time will be accountable for whatever we do, whether noticed or unnoticed. Remember the days when you take sugar when no one has seen you, and then before you know, a Christ is somewhere at the edge of your mouth. Well, Dr. Patricia, what are the traits of a good leader?
First of all, a good leader should be distinctive, should demonstrate that distinctiveness, should be exemplary and different. Because when you're distinctive, you do things the unusual way. Like now people say everything should be done in this particular style, but as a distinctive person, you do it differently to exhibit something exemplary, like exemplarity you have talked about. Now, when you're distinctive as a leader, you are able to first of all understand what the people below you expect of you as a leader. You're able to put yourself in their shoes and look at things from their perspective as a leader and be able to offer the necessary guidance. Another thing I would talk about are the values which we had already talked about. Quality of a good leader. A leader should have humility. A leader should be able to be truthful and down to earth. A leader should be respectable, respectful. A leader should stand by his word, and a leader should be able to implement and guide the people they are leading below them, meaning that a leader should be the way for other ways to be created. So a leader should be able, through his exemplary or her exemplary character, be an icon for the other leaders to be raised, for other leaders to be groomed. Because there are benefits of being an exemplary leader. If you lead by example, first of all, you're able to build and develop trust in the people you are leading. Secondly, you first of all, inspire people and change their characters, because you're able to model good leadership. And then thirdly, you're able to build accountability we were talking about, because the people will look at you and trust what you're doing, and the people will want to be honest. The people will want to exhibit the character you are also exhibiting, and at the end of the day increases productivity, because you're then able to get results from a team of people who have built trust on you over time. And trust is built over time. But as a leader, if you go into compromising your standards, if you are the one involved in dipping your hands in public resources which are not meant for you, if you are the one who is involved in acts like domestic violence and you fail to manage your family, if you are the one who is not steering your team very well, then people will not produce results expected from them, because I mean they are looking at you as their leader, and if you are not able to be exemplary and demonstrate the quality or the character or caliber you expect of them, then it will be difficult. Then an exemplary leader should be able to also set standards of success and increase loyalty and engagement with the people, and also retention. But if you find an organization where people are exiting because of the quality of this leader, then there should be a red flag. A leader should be able to mentor, to groom, to build and strengthen the people through building their skills, and to be able to train them to be able to get results out of them and contribute to things like team building. Because as a leader, we need to have strong teams around us in order to get results. Because a leader is that person who knows how to get results out of others, out of the directors or managers or supervisors below me. I should be able to extract results. But if I'm not able to generate the ability to get the results, then my quality would be highly questionable as a leader. So a leader should be exemplary. You should be able to model what you want others to be. You should be that way which other ways can be built from. So you should be basically that. So that's what I would say briefly about the qualities or competencies an exemplary leader should have. Yes.
Then, if someone is really looking for a leader they would look up to as a mentor and appreciate, what are some of the things they should really look up for? Like, if I'm saying Diana is really a leader and a good leader, and a leader who is has the traits that some of the traits that Doctor has just shared with, who should that person be, and why is it important to always be that person who people will always look back to and say, like that person?
I think my journey of leadership has taught me, one, there are things you can learn along the way, but there are things that you possess naturally as a person. And the things that you learn along the way, you sort of cover up the gaps that you have. But generally, as a person, we all have strength. There are people who are natural born leaders, there are those who will learn it along the way, depending on what situation you throw them into. For many of us who are natural born leaders, we are the firstborn for some reason, or the qualities just rise wherever you go. More likely than not, such people are picked out. Even if they have stepped into a place for a couple of hours, people will say, that person, and they will pick them out. So in that sense, for me, 5 things have shown me specifically that what makes the kind of leader I want to be and aspire to be, or the person I would say people should aspire to be. The first one is that a good leader should have a mentor. A leader who doesn't have a mentor has a seal. They will never go beyond a certain place. And mentorship is so key to leadership and generally life, because someone is able to coach you through the hard parts of life, to coach you through the journey that you're taking, to point out the pitfalls and say, I fell there, don't fall there, to show you aspects that you can excel in. That person is able to champion you. They see the good in you, they see the strength, and they refine them. They see your weaknesses and they figure out how to cover up them. And so for me, a leader without a mentor is not one I would ever risk pointing people to. The other 4 are more intrinsic or really come from your character. I have found that compassion from a person gets more out of people as a leader than anything ever does. If people know you love them, they will do more for you than you expect. And compassion, I say love and compassion and I interchange them, because as you evaluate and you do accountability, you realize that someone who has grown to a certain degree of leadership will not be as critical as people who haven't grown to that level of leadership. Why? Because you understand. I had to do something last week. I had to speak, I had to preach actually at a particular event, and I've done it before. I've done it for the camera off, I've done it for camera present. But it doesn't get any easier, or the message itself is fine. But those initial steps to get up there, you are going through a lot of emotion, trying to get eyes off yourself and focus on what matters. And in that moment, I learned a very critical aspect. I am very critical of people who are preaching. I'm very critical of people who are up there. Many people are very critical of leaders. When you have walked a mile in their shoes, you will be less critical. A good leader is compassionate to the people above them and the people below. And someone who, this is why it's key, because that person will go far. Anyone that's compassionate in how they deal with people is going very fine life. And so you will want to look up to that kind of person. The ability to feel for others, the ability to walk with others. That is such a key component and a leader has to develop. If you don't see it in a leader, worry for them. The other aspect is integrity. Without a doubt, people have to know you in, and you have to be the same person. If you tell my parents that's who Diana is, and it's not different from home. Someone once told my parents, oh, your daughter is very stubborn, and my parents were not surprised. Your daughter is very tough, and they were not surprised. She's quite principled, and they were not surprised. But if you say other things that they don't know about, because the same person you have seen at home is the same person you'll see in the workplace, is the same person you'll see in the leadership position. That ability to be the same, to be one. You don't have a face for the public, a face for the back. That is very key, because very few people have it. Very few people have the ability not to hold a facade. Life has taught us to put on masks. And so we have a mask for the family, a mask for the... and it's difficult. It's difficult as leaders, especially when you stand at the front. It's difficult. It's very difficult. Now, I'm not saying open up all your life so that people can see everything that you are. Public speaking and how you interact with people and public interaction will teach you different things. But in terms of personality and character, people should say that you are a person of integrity. And that's something that you can never get rid of. So I've done mentorship, I've done compassion, I've done integrity. The other one which I learned as a much younger leader was to be strong. Be strong. Nobody needs a weak leader. Nobody looks up to somebody that is weak. A leader that bursts out crying every time, and this I say with very delicately, because other cultures, it works for them. Other cultures, other national, what they call races, it works for them that their leader can burst out crying when they're going through something. But I ask many ladies, I said, I have nothing wrong with you crying. But if Dr. Patricia today said, I started crying in the middle of a press address, tell me that you'd look up to her. You would not look up to her. To make matters worse, she's a woman. And so the judgment will come much stricter. It will be harsh. When the Prime Minister, the lady left, when she was asked to resign, and she left the podium crying, trust me, the world was not amazed by that. Yeah? There has to be some level of strength, whether it's emotional strength, spiritual strength, what other strength is there? All those strengths. A leader needs to build that, because leadership is tough. Leadership is tough. People are going to come at you at every direction. They're going to take you down, from the way you look like, to how you carry yourself, to how you interact one with another. Every leader has been through a season where the people that you lead will take you down. Your peers will take you down. Those above you, who by you, will take you down. And I realized as a young leader growing up that strength was the one thing that was going to carry me through. And so it matters that you're emotionally strong. It matters that you have the mental capacity to carry. It matters that you have the spiritual strength to carry. All that level of strength is necessary for a leader to be the kind of leader that you look up to. So I'll say that if you're looking up to a leader, those are among the things that you, and then I think the last one she's looking for is visionary. Visionary. If someone doesn't know where they're going, why are you following them? And I think many people struggle in the small as family. Many people struggle, especially women, because we're supposed to be submitted to the authority. But when the authority doesn't know where it's going, it becomes quite difficult. And those are cases we have to deal with daily, because vision is important for every leader. I love what one of the strong leaders has said to me, that a leader paints the kind of picture that they want people to get to. If they're on an island and they need to get back to the mainland, they paint a picture in such a way that people will begin to find wood, build up that wood, find resources, find oars to row them back. All they have done is show people that it is possible. So for me, those are the 5 things I would say. That's the kind of leader that you want to look up to.
Now, Dr. Patricia, we've seen the electorate where you work. You've been battling with very many leaders, perhaps who have failed to lead by example, or who were led that way, and maybe at the end of the day they realize this is the way things should be done. And so you realize that the top is rotten, and because the top is rotten, now whatever comes back will share the same. And now, what are some of the tips you can give leaders out there who are watching, who are aspiring leaders? Because I believe everyone is a leader in one way or the other. At least they have, you might not be a leader in the government, you might not be a leader of a ministry, but at least you have somewhere where people hold you accountable for a particular aspect. So what are some of the tips of someone can take on as they lead by example?
Some of the tips I would think about for a leader to be able to lead by example out there is, as leaders, have that strength, have that power, have that courage. Be daring. Dare to dare where others cannot dare as a leader. And there you will have come out strong, like Diana has said. If you're not strong as a leader and you're exhibiting weaknesses, then people will not look up to you. So it's important that you dare to dare where others do not dare. When you look at the cases we're doing today in the Inspectorate of Government, most of them as a result of breakdown of moral values in the society. So as leaders, let's think about solutions. It is time for us to go to the drawing board and think about solutions and not just sit back and lament. Because as leaders, many people are looking up to you. Many people are looking up to us. We have a crop of leaders that are not rooted at all in values today. Leaders who are compromising left, right, and center. So we are all leaders in one way or another, and we are influencing someone if we are not being influenced as leaders. So who is influencing us? But most importantly, in our actions as leaders, in whatever space we have, we should cause influence, positive influence to those who are around us. How do we cause the positive influence? By being exemplary. Is it at home? What kind of character are you demonstrating while at home? I know of parents who, when they get home, children run in different directions and take cover because they do not offer the company that the children expect of them as parents. So it is important for us to always check our actions and see what is it that we are using to influence these nations. The values that people see in our society are reflected in our actions as leaders every other day. So there should be a minimum standard of behavior of leaders. And we have got the Leadership Code Act, where we say leaders are expected to demonstrate a certain quality of behavior. And we expect that after 2 years, all the leaders in this government declare their incomes, assets, and liabilities publicly. Why? Because we want to build that trust, we want to build that accountability, so that when we talk about accountability, we are talking about it from an informed perspective. And then even the people they lead should be able to know what their worth is. Because there are people who occupy those positions and begin to grab as much as what they can grab. At the end of the day, they cannot even account for what they have. And we have examples of leaders who have surrendered and said, you take these apartments because I cannot account for. So the quality I expect of leaders out there is to be down to earth, to be real, to be exemplary, to be accountable, to have that humility, to be able to represent the people positively. There are leaders who today have become an embarrassment to the people, to the constituencies they represent, because their names are appearing every now and then for wrong things. So leaders should be able to leave a legacy that will impact positively in this country. They should offer leadership by exhibiting these values and principles, like we have the national value policy in this country, but leaders have forgotten it. So I think it is time for us to open up those values, begin unpacking, and let every person know what the values of Ugandans are. It was launched in 2013 by the Directorate of Ethics and Integrity, and I happen to be one of the brains behind it, and I would expect that as leaders we all embrace that. Because when we talk about integrity, truthfulness, accountability, it is all embedded in that national values policy document. So we need to come out and unpack that to the young people so that it will begin to have impact, positive impact in this country. And if we are to cause a change in the fight against corruption, I think we can have it from the perspective of the young people, because the older ones may already be like rotten apples, and we cannot do the mindset change easily among the grown-ups. But the young people, the youth who are full of energy, can use that energy to promote and advocate for these values and get into mindset change issues. So it is very important that leaders, we basically look at working towards leaving a legacy and impacting positively in the lives of many through these qualities we have been discussing in this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dana. How is accountability important in bettering leadership?
A leader who doesn't know their pitfalls or the challenges that they are facing does not give themselves room for growth. And so one of the tenets of accountability I spoke about was receiving feedback. And also Dr. Patricia talked about the ability to account to self first. And so a leader needs to know where are my challenges as a person first, and then in the event that you have carried out. If you see those challenges, what you people call usually a SWOT analysis, you're able to see what are my strengths, my weaknesses, my opportunities, and my threats, and you are able to now tackle them. Because what you do with your weaknesses is you amplify your strengths, so you cover them up. See what opportunities can you be given to remove your weaknesses. What capacity gaps do you have that you can encourage others to help fill that capacity gap. And so it's important for a leader in that respect, because they're able to grow, they give themselves an opportunity to grow by understanding their weaknesses and their strengths. That's as a person, but also in terms of an organization, you understand the capacity gaps that you need. Say, for example, you are not good at organization, but you are great at the top of leadership. What then do? You find somebody that's great at organization, somebody who has the capacity to deal with people if you're not a people person, someone who has the ability to cover up the areas. You fill your organization with the things that you lack as a person. So you're giving your organization an opportunity also to be better and to compete. And I think that's the importance of accountability. The other also is, as I said in the beginning, you are only a steward. You're only a steward of these resources, and you're going to account for them in whatever aspect. And if you think of it in that respect, then things such as participation, evaluation, transparency, and feedback become key to how you deal with the different issues.
Okay. This is very, very interesting, and as we draw closer to the end of this discussion, Dr. Patricia, what are your parting shots when it comes to accountability, the power of accountability and leading by example?
My parting shots would be that as leaders, we need to equip the people below us with skills, with knowledge, and with ability to be able to work ethically, and also to equip the citizens generally with the skills and power to know that power belongs to them as the people, and therefore they can be able to demand for accountability from we the leaders from an informed perspective. Accountability on everything that we do, because the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda says we hold these positions in trust of the people. And if we are holding these positions in trust for the people, then we are answerable to the people. So we need to work close with the people and ensure that the people know issues to do with accountability, and they can be able to demand for accountability from the leaders on how they have represented them, first of all, as the people, in terms of resources, in terms of character, in terms of management of their institutions, in terms of how they have been running their leadership business. It all begins with accountability. So if we are not accountable to the people, we try to do that as institutions by coming up with reports, by engaging with the people. Like now the Inspectorate of Government were saying we are taking the war against corruption to the people. But the people should be able to demand for accountability and ask us, how come you're bringing it to us now? Is it that you have failed? What do you expect from us as the citizens? How can we approach the institutions and bring these cases to light? So I think my parting words are that people out there watching, let us promote accountability. Let's be truthful and honest. Let us work with institutions that have been put in place to oversee issues to do with accountability. And if it means reporting cases, like to the Inspectorate of Government, come out and report truthfully and honestly, and we will take action and be able to address those issues. Otherwise, thank you very much, and God bless you.
God bless you too, Dr. Patricia. Then, what are your parting shots as we wind up this whole discussion?
The person who avoids accountability or does not like accountability is not worth being a leader. Because the very nature of leadership is that it is influence. And a person who is not able to be held accountable for their leadership should not be in that position in the first place. Yes, leadership is more than positional, it's about influence. But at some point we've got to open up ourselves to become better leaders and to become better citizens. And so it's important for us to self-check and self-evaluate as often as possible, especially if you hold the kind of leadership position that influences a big sphere of people. Anything to do with media, anything to do with a governmental position, anything to do with a ministry position, those that have the ability to influence a huge sphere, as much as possible should self-evaluate. As often as quarterly, how you are doing. Self-evaluation is part of accountability. The other aspect for a leader should be that the leader is able, as Dr. Patricia has said, to allow others to evaluate them. Because that's the only way you're going to grow. It's the only way that you're going to give yourself a chance to be a better leader. And so rather than shun accountability, it's important. And I think the last thing I will say, in a culture where accountability is shunned, let's be the change that rewrites that culture and allows accountability to be a part of the very moral fabric or the essence of our leadership. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Dana. Thank you so much, Dr. Patricia. And thank you so much, you, our viewer, who started with us. Now that we draw closer to the end of this discussion, I believe you have learned quite a lot, especially when it comes to leadership. It is very important that we learn some of these things, and this is the only way we can have a better country. This is the only way we can have better families, as long as we streamline leadership and accountability. This is a family hour on every Monday to Friday. Monday we look at education and career. Tuesday we look at family health. Wednesday is always finances and wealth, and Thursday is always leadership and governance. Then Friday closing up with parenting. So don't miss any single episode, because we are empowering you as a family, as an individual, and everyone, wherever you are, one episode at a time. God bless you, and be well. A very good evening to you, our esteemed viewer. We are grateful that you chose Church of Uganda Family TV this particular evening, and we don't take this for granted. We are grateful that you are tuned in the Family Hour. This is the Family Hour Thursday edition. Remember, every Thursday we are looking at issues to do with leadership and governance, and that is what we have today on leadership and governance. And today we are basically looking at the power of accountability, leading by example. When we talk about accountability, of course, very many of us think about finances, because that word accountability is popular in finances. But accountability is very broad, and I believe by the end of this session we shall have known why it is important for us to be accountable, especially we who are in places of leadership. Now, you can't say you're not in a place of leadership. Even if you are a father, you are a leader in that home, and your children are looking up to you. So accountability is really very, very important. So that is why we have a team of enthusiastic leaders, I can say. You're most welcome, and we are grateful to have you. First of all, we have the one, Diana Angwech. Of course, the two are not so new on in the area on the 13th floor, although they're new in this program, the Family Hour. She's a former vice president of the Uganda Law Society. She's an advocate of the High Court and all the subordinate courts. She was a leader on Young Lawyers Committee. She's a champion of human rights, and she has a keen interest in the areas of leadership development. Now, she's currently the Chancellor of the Diocese of Kampala.
And also a member of Uganda Christian Lawyers Fraternity.
Definitely.
An ardent member.
You're most welcome, Dana.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Kindly greet our viewers.
Good evening, viewers. Is it evening?
Yes, it is.
Good evening, viewers. My name is Diana Angwech. I am happy to be here. I think this is going to be quite an interesting challenge for each of us.
Okay.
I am passionate about leadership, mentoring young leaders to come up and to be the kind of leaders that God created them to be, especially women. And I'm passionate about mentorship, and this should be an interesting show to be a part of.
Sure. And now, I don't know whether you've also secured some that you're going to pin her with, but we have Dr. Patricia Achan Okiria. She's currently the Deputy IGG, but she's also a lawyer with extensive experience in human rights law, legislative drafting, regularity blasting, corporate law, regulatory compliance, and governance. She's also an advocate of the High Court and the subordinate courts. She has also served in very many places. Besides being an IGG, she has been Vice President of Uganda Christian Lawyers Fraternity. She has been a member of the Uganda Association of Women Lawyers, a member of the Anglican Youth Fellowship, AYF band, and you who have always been asking, but is she this? Yeah, she is. And she's a minister, a strong minister. But she has worked with the Uganda Human Rights Commission, Directorate of Ethics and Integrity, and the Ministry of Works and Transport. Dr. Patricia, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much, and good evening, viewers.
And we are grateful. So we are discussing the power of accountability, and the reason we have this background is to give you confidence that what they're going to share with you is what they have seen or they have lived to see, and perhaps you can pick something out of their experience. Now, then, just to start with you, in your own perspective, as we break down the word accountability, how can you break it down to a layman person out there watching us?
It's interesting that you start with the word accountability, because I'm currently accounting for money I have spent hosting a women's conference. And in that respect, the first thing that I was looking at was feedback. Mm-hmm. And accountability in itself has 4 particular tenets. feedback being the last of its kind. You have participation, and that means that there was an event for people to participate in, whether it's participation in terms of giving, in support, in whatever way, there has to be some level of participation. The second tenet to accountability is that there has to be an evaluation. So it means that there were goals that were set before, and during the event, there was sort of some sense of carrying out that goals. And as soon as it's done, they now have to evaluate how far did I go in accomplishing those goals? How far did I go in terms of exceeding those goals? What does it look like? And evaluation many times is looked at in three particular aspects. The people who were recipients to the particular program or event that you did, the people who were participating in terms of leadership, and also self-evaluation by the different people. The other tenet of accountability is transparency. That one is a very difficult one for many of us, not just as Ugandans, but even as individuals, because we have to be transparent in the sense that we are honest about what we expected from this particular event, and how far did we go in accomplishing those goals. I gave somebody feedback recently, actually a few days ago, from the event that we just hosted. And it's difficult, especially in the Christian space, to give feedback, because many of us do not like feedback. We actually don't like honest feedback. We like to cover up the things that seem like hard truths. And so in providing the feedback to this person, I wondered how far I could go without damaging the person. And in essence, it's a question of being transparent. But also the other aspect of transparency is that everybody on the team knows what we are doing. Do they know the goals? Do they know what's achievable? Do they know how money is handled? Do they know who to go to? Do they know that their secrets are confidential or that you have kept them? Is there an element of transparency? And I think usually for me, the last tenet of accountability is the feedback mechanism that you create. That is very crucial, because as you go through life, each of us goes through seasons of having events. We go through seasons of carrying out. You've heard about census. You've had. I think I did it for the government institutions. We've done value for money audits before. Feedback is extremely important. It's an important mechanism because you're hearing from all the people that participated. What is the effect or the impact of your particular event, and were you able to accomplish as much as you hope to accomplish?
Wow. Dr. Patricia, now I get to you just to break down the word accountability in your own perspective.
In my own perspective, I look at accountability as one of the benchmarks for good governance. Like my friend and sister Diana has explained, she has given us a tenet, but accountability is synonymous with responsibility, because like what she has explained, a responsible leader is able to give feedback, is able to fulfill all those tenets, is able to follow up and give reports. So it's about taking responsibility for your own actions as a leader, and being able to accept both your success and your weaknesses as well, because there are no leaders out there who are perfect. Human beings are prone to making mistakes. And even as you do talk about accountability, it's about being able to accept and own up the successes and own up the losses as well, or the weaknesses. So when a problem occurs, accountability is about accepting what your actions are, and being able to scope and see what exactly led to the failures. And when we do that, then we are able to do correctional measures. So it's about acknowledging that you are not perfect as a human being, and you are also able to make mistakes. But now, when you take it to leadership with accountability, you realize that leaders, in carrying out their responsibility, are supposed to be accountable, first of all, to themselves. How am I accountable to myself as a leader? It's about upholding the integrity and the values and principles that a leader must have. And it reminds me about the national values, because as Uganda, we have national values, 10 national values, and one of them is accountability, truthfulness, being principled and upholding those principles, respect for humanity and things like patriotism and unity and consciousness. But when you look at a leader, in order to promote this accountability, or in order to demonstrate and ensure that you mentor, like Diana talked about, you have to first of all accept your own actions while carrying out your responsibility as a leader. And you should be able to demonstrate to others what you want them to be in order to achieve or get success or results from the people you are leading. So that means that the people, you should be able to model what you want them to become. And to me, that is what is real accountability, because if as a leader I'm given responsibility to take charge of implementing the mandate of an institution, then I've got to model what I want the people below me to be. It's about being able to manage your time very well. It's about walking the talk and demonstrating leadership by example. It's about mentorship and guiding the people below you to be able to cope quickly and be able to implement the responsibilities according to the mandate of the institution. And then it's also about counseling, equipping and skilling these people to be able to carry on the mantle, even when your term of leadership has come to an end. Your footmarks or footprints should still remain in the institution. So I think that is what, for me, I would look at as the overall description of accountability.
Talking about the power of accountability, of course, there is something that you've both brought in, especially when we say we accept when people come to give us feedback. Should accountability be tagged to only positive or negative? Then, in which perspective should the accountability be presented, and to who are we accountable?
That's an interesting question. I think by nature of the word, accountability is stewardship. It's recognizing that you're not the owner of a thing, but you are only watching over it for a certain given period of time. And each of us are stewards, whether we are given that stewardship as originates from the Bible, or we have been given authority by an appointing officer to steward over a particular office, or the stewardship over a family. As a family man, you're stewarding over your family because they're not yours, you didn't create them. You may have had a hand in participation, but you are not the owner. And when we recognize accountability in the sense or view it in the aspect that it is stewardship, we're able to be to have at the back of our minds that we're going to give an account or a report for everything that we have worked in. So should accountability be just good feedback? No, not necessarily. Because how do you grow? How do you improve? The very essence of accountability, I look at it in two particular aspects. It's more than just accomplishing the goal that you want to accomplish. And you're evaluating yourself at the end of the day and saying, this is how far we got to moving the needle. But the other aspect of it is that the negative or the challenges that you look through will help you improve. Today last week we hosted a women's conference. We sent out a feedback form for people to give us feedback. And we're asking them to give us as honest and as candid feedback as possible. Over the years, you will see that in implementation of their feedback, it becomes a more inclusive event that you keep holding. So the challenges are really to push us to grow. At the end of the day, you grow as a leader, you grow as a participant, and you grow in how you are stewarding that particular aspect. I think for me, that's how I look at accountability. In terms of who should be accountable, I think everybody who's a steward is accountable. You're accountable to your commanding officer or the person who is an owner. At the end of the day, we're all accountable to God, and we will be accountable. In fact, the scripture says we'll account for every useless word or word that has spoken. Now, for those of us who were given more words than others, I am so worried about that day, because I don't know what I'm going to say when it comes to that day. I tend to run on and on and on. But we are accountable first to God. We are accountable in our different spheres of influence to the people who are above us and have given us the mantle of authority, We are accountable to our peers and those who are in the same level with us, and we are accountable to those who we lead, those that we influence. So we are accountable in that dynamic. Many institutions will have 360 accountability, so that the leader has someone above them who is evaluating them. You have someone on your level that's evaluating you, but you also have people who are below you and juniors who are evaluating. So in that respect, you are accountable to every single one of them. They may judge you in different facets. They may judge you differently depending on their degree of relationship to you or their expectation from you. But in essence, when you keep an open mind and know that I'm accountable in these different spheres, I'm able then to know that I cannot do things the way I want because I have somebody that I answer to in different degrees.
Okay. Dr. Patricia, thank you so much, then. In your submission of leadership, there are things you brought out. One, mentoring and modeling. And we look at leading by example as our point of discussion. So we also look at the aspect of integrity, which some people don't have a mark for. Now, in accountability, is there a mark that I should sit back and look at and then judge myself before I even get feedback from others? Or sometimes people think that what they're doing is actually right. And when there are maybe the family members will account to them and give them positive feedback, and they proceed, and at the end of the day, they end up mentoring the same. So those who look up to you will see what you're doing, and they think this is the order of the day. Now, what is the measure of integrity as a leader when it comes to accountability?
As a leader, when it comes to accountability, like I said earlier on, accountability begins with yourself as a leader. You have to be true to yourself, you have to be down to earth, and then you have to be able to demonstrate that to others so that they see and want to be like you, so that they want you to be like their role model. But accountability also helps to build trust, because people will not want to do what you're doing the way you want it to be done if they do not trust you. So you have to build that trust, and you have to be as honest as possible to yourself. Someone one time said a man of integrity is that person who is able to use a fork and a knife, even when he's behind closed doors when having his meal. You have to check yourself, you have to self-examine yourself and make sure you are in line. So you have to evaluate yourself, because people will see that you are able, first of all, to accept fault also, and be able to trust and believe in you. Because there are leaders out there who, when they make mistakes, they push it on and push the blame to the people below them. But in order to build your strength and performance as a leader, you should be able to build that trust and have personal accountability, which means that you go by your word, you are truthful and stand by your word, not a person who changes goalposts here and there. And then accountability is important because it also helps to increase on your own confidence and the confidence of others, because if others trust you, then they are able to build confidence in you, and you're also able to build confidence in yourself as a leader. How do we do this? By being down to earth. If you're down to earth, there are people who get into leadership positions and begin to think they have arrived, and pride comes in and they're somewhere else altogether. But if you remain down to earth, then the people are able to consult with you easily. The people are able to approach you because you have an open door policy, and then you're able to teach them, you're able to mentor them, you're able to counsel them, and you're able to be the way for the creation of another way. So that means you're able to help them follow your tracks and be able to be good leaders. But also, it calls for how you manage people as a leader. People management skills. What are the basics of people management skills? Because remember, as leaders, the people who are below us have got responsibilities. Some are fathers, some are uncles, some are aunties, some are mothers, some are chairpersons of circles, some are chairpersons of mothers' union or members, and so on. So people have different responsibilities. out there. So in dealing with them, we've got to respect them. We've got to respect their opinions, we've got to respect their feelings, and we've got to create that environment which helps them to enjoy working in the institution. So a leader must be able to possess the people management skills coupled with the accountability we are talking about. Not just about financial resources, but even for the people we have below us. So we should be able to offer guidance and support, first of all, to the institution, and be able to use those skills in order to groom and bring up other leaders and enable the people to move in the direction you want them to go through in order to get the results out of them. Otherwise, human beings can be complicated. They can lock their minds and not even take on your ideas or your views, depending on how you manage them. But if you create a very good environment as a leader, if you're transparent, like Diana alluded to earlier on, if you walk the talk, if you're truthful, then the people will believe in you and will want to take the guidance and advice you give them. So, and you have to motivate them as well. Motivating people doesn't mean that as a leader you have to begin dishing out money here and there. You can motivate someone by appreciating, speaking positively on the life of that person. When a person is motivated, he's willing to go the extra mile in order to produce results. So leaders must have those motivational skills, people management skills, because people need to be treated well in order to get value out of them. Because a human being is the most important factor of production. So if they are not treated well, then we don't get results out of them. So we need to look at issues to do with motivating them. We need to look at issues to do with enabling them use their skills very well to fit in the work you're giving them, and so on. And as a leader, I believe when we go that direction, coupled with the accountability we are talking about, then we'll be able to have impact. But it begins from the roots. How has this person been raised? From family. I'm glad we are in family TV. Parents have got a responsibility to instill these values in their children, so that when they grow up, we will not have issues like the cases of corruption we are having today. We're having cases to do with leaders who are not grounded or rooted with values and principles and moral norms. So they're compromising their standards. They're exhibiting greed and selfishness out there. But if from the family someone is groomed with these values, then we will not have issues to do with people stealing a pencil. It begins by stealing a pencil or a rubber in school, and these are the people now who are stealing billions of money. And this is where we see our values and principles being decayed in the country. Yes.
Okay. Actually, you brought in something very, very important of a family, and you say it all starts with this smallest unity. Now, then, just request you to expound on the role of family in mentoring a leader.
Wow, that's quite a question. Well, I think I said it here the last time I was here. The very first mentor any child will have will be a parent. For particularly girls, you'll see that I will learn how to be a wife or mother and how to interact with the other gender on how I see my mother respond to my father or the different men around the home. The man or the boy child will learn from the father how to be a man, how to take care of a family, what it means to be a protector. So the kind of leadership that the mother and father model is important, because you're showing them how to, one, be a close unit as a family. You're showing them how to be a man and a responsible man. You're showing them how to be a wife and a responsible wife. You're showing the woman you're showing the daughters how to carry themselves. The first responsibility is that moral fabric. Moral fabric that how you expect people to relate one with another. They will see good and bad from the family. My parents like to say, whatever is good, take it out of here. Whatever is bad, let that get be the last. Let's see that. But the moral fabric and how people treat one another will be learned from the family very fast. The second aspect of family is that most people learn financial training from the family. Now, our generation, or the generation that's just right above me, has taught children how to be financially sound. And so they teach it by telling them, when we're going to church on Sunday, you have to give. We're going to church on Sunday, you have to tithe. I've given you a piggy bank. How do you use the piggy bank? As you go older, you'll go to secondary school, they will teach you how to pay school fees. Those days when I used to line up, nowadays you can pay with Momo Pay, all these things. But my father took me to the bank and gave me money and said, what's the balance? Now I was terrible at mathematics. So you can imagine, I just stood there shivering. I don't know what answer I gave him, but I'm so certain. The look on his face said it all, and he left me in the bank. Of course, he didn't leave me. Later on, he came back to pick me. But financial soundness or good stewardship of finances is learned from the family. Now, someone who's able to steward their finances at a family level will learn to steward their finances when they become the leaders of the family, will learn to steward finances when they become leaders of institutions, and will learn to steward finances in whatever big corporation that they do. They will know how to get it, how to maintain it, and how to make it a surplus. You see that even in the Bible. You see the prodigal son, the one who asked his father for half of his, I don't know if it was half, he said, give me my inheritance. And the father said he divided it between him and the son. And the son went, the father stayed and increased, the son went and squandered. He came back with nothing. See, the son was home, but he had not learned how to maintain. He had not learned how to be a good steward. So when he went out, he squandered it on women, on things and people. And those people who were with him were gone. And that's a very good lesson for us in life, that people are there when it looks good. But when it gets bad, there will be no one. In fact, it teaches you that your family will be the one that will be present for you. And so that's the second aspect that people learn in terms of mentorship. The third, which I think beyond moral fabric and financial, I think is most people learn to be strong leaders from home. People always ask me why I'm a strong leader. I was very amused when someone alluded it to my relationship with my father. Said you must have such a good relationship with your father. Yeah. That's why you come strong. I thought it was an interesting allusion because I'm not sure we have such a good relationship. We don't have the kind of relationship you see in Hollywood, but he's also the kind of man that taught me to be strong. To be strong. I'm one of those people who has had the ability to be mentored by men, a lot of men in my life. And so my personality, by when you meet me, is very strong. And I think that the best way anyone will learn to be a strong leader and how to deal with hard circumstances will be from home. Because the first place you will meet hard circumstances, if your parents have the ability to expose you, most families, normal families, especially in this country, will go through trying times. Mm-hmm. You will go through a time when one spouse is not working. You go through a time when there's a lack at home. You go through a time when there's sickness at home. You go through a time when they are, for example, asking for bills and debts. I sit with many young people today, and it's sad the responsibility they have to carry. But if I look at many of their pains and their traumas, it's coming from home. And home hasn't taught them how to deal with pain. It hasn't taught them how to deal with hardship. It hasn't taught them how to deal with things that are uncertain that come their way. And so that's the first place you're ever going to learn it from. And how the parents deal and work through and navigate without shielding the children and letting them know that there's life beyond this home. It's important in shaping the kind of leader that you see.
Wow, this is very important. Now, a parent out there should have it in mind that at one point they'll be accountable for their children's traits. Dr. Patricia, is that true?
Yes, I agree with Diana 100% because I have seen that someone who has failed to manage their family well cannot make a good leader in office. It all begins from home. If you cannot manage that family unit and deal with those challenges Diana was sharing, then you cannot manage office very well. So a good family person is able to steer an organization also very well because he's grounded. It all starts from home with the values and principles he has been raised with in that home family unit. Yes.
I know what you said, because it reminds me of a scripture.
Yes.
When they are raising deacons in the church and leaders in the church, one of the first things it says that you must be able to manage your home.
Yes.
You must be able to manage your home.
Now, you've reminded me of the prominent saying that charity begins at home.
Yes.
So everything probably we see as we grow up should have been initiated from somewhere, and 99% from home. Well, we are taking a short commercial break, and when we return, we are going to continue with this discussion on accountability and leadership.